feeling overwhelmed, kind of like life's coming at you from every direction, and no matter how fast you run, you just can't keep up. Well, that's me. That's where I've been. And if you're there too and ready to take back control and maybe bring a sense of calm back into your life, stick around because that's exactly what I'm talking about today. I'm going to share how I got there, what I wanted to do, what I did instead that worked a whole lot better. Long story short, I have found myself in a major funk. I was doing great one minute and then all of a sudden not. And I realized I was feeling so overwhelmed by everything. There's so much going on, so many things that need to be done. Things are taking so much longer than I thought. They require so much more money. There's lots and lots of family stress, lots of unknowns. And of course, we've got the US elections looming right overhead, and there is fear everywhere. The fear is palpable. If you can relate, if you're feeling overwhelmed too, leave a comment down below that says, I'm overwhelmed. And hey, let's talk about it. I'd love to connect with you. Before I move forward and tell you all about all the things that I did and what worked and what didn't work, I want to put in a plug for the free workbook that I have available called Who Am I Now? Sometimes this is really a big part of feeling overwhelmed because we get so disconnected that we kind of just end up really losing ourselves in the process. Let's talk now about what overwhelm really is. A lot of people think it's just an emotion. And I want to tell you it's more than that. The emotion that we feel and that we label as overwhelm is not the whole package. It's actually tied to our nervous system, and it's our body's way of telling us that something is just too much. By the time that we actually feel that emotion, our body and nervous system have already gone into defense mode, and they're now just trying to get our attention. I know, at least for me, when I feel that stuff kick in, there's a lot of things that I want to do, and I know that a lot of people actually do. I'm guilty of doing them at times myself. We want to run away. We want to shut down. We might find ourselves doom scrolling a lot more. Maybe we find ourselves getting a little short-tempered, a little more edgy about things, or maybe you just want to live alone on a mountain somewhere and sleep for a week and have no people around you anywhere. And while that might sound great in the moment, I think common sense will tell us why those things don't actually work. They're really not very productive and they don't make us feel very good. And so, a lot of us end up doing something different, like running faster and trying to do more. Or we beat ourselves up for not being able to keep up until we hit a wall of burnout and just end up crashing. Well, that doesn't work any better than what most of us want to do. So I want to talk a little bit about what works better instead. And this is what I've really been trying to do for the last few days myself. And it's a message that I want to get out there with you because I know that there's so many people feeling overwhelmed right now. Because on top of all the other stuff I talked about, we also have the holidays that are looming, and I know those are causing stress for a lot of people already. So, when we start to feel all this kind of, I'm getting stuck in a ball here, the first thing I think we want to do is pay attention to what we're actually hearing. What's our body saying? What's our brain? What's our nervous system trying to tell us? And we want to stop and listen to that before things break or things break down, before we take action. I know, at least for me, and I know it works for a lot of other people too, is that rather than running faster like most of us try to do, it's actually better to step back and to kind of take a breather, recenter, refocus, reevaluate, look at the whole big picture again, and kind of try and figure out what is making me feel this way. What's going on behind the scenes? What's driving all of this stuff? And am I freaking out over stuff that I have no control over? I'm going to give you a little hint. The answer to that one is often yes. We as humans are hardwired for survival. And part of that hardwiring is that we need to fight for control when we feel like things are out of control. For me, that's what was going on. I was all of a sudden hit with trying to do everything all at once, wanting to be there, wanting to just magically make it disappear. What that actually resulted in is too many projects started, but none of them getting done. And it also resulted in a lot of overwhelm in because nothing was getting done. The clutter and the messes were just getting bigger. Things weren't moving forward like I needed them to, and I just felt like I was stuck in this loop of a hamster wheel, and I needed to jump off for a minute. I think a lot of us get stuck there, and when we do, give yourself permission to get off, and then realize that we're tired. This stuff is hard, and sometimes we need to rest for a minute, and it is okay to rest for a minute. I think it's also important to remember that sometimes rest means to sleep, and sometimes it actually means reset. Change things up, get out, get some fresh air, get some exercise, change up your routine, get your brain back in line with what needs to be done, and you feel a lot better. It also means to tune out the noise, including some of the noise that happens in our own heads. The noise that screams, you have to do more in order to be valuable, to be productive, or to be worthy of taking up space on this planet. You have to do more. You have to run faster, or you have to be always on your game. And that's just not true. We're human. None of us are immune from getting tired and from needing rest. So take a minute to take it when you need it. And then when you come back, it's time to focus on what is really most important. Once we do, I also think it's very important to come back into the game, into the step that we're actually in, and that we need to stay in that step that we're actually in. A lot of us get so worked up because things aren't working out. Things are just going even more crazy, and we're just pounding and pounding and pounding, and it's just not getting us anywhere. And there's often a reason for that. Sometimes things don't work because there's something blocking it. And something needs to be done first before we can complete what we were trying to do. It's kind of like trying to eat that whole elephant one bite at a time, and we end up choking on it. I know for me, my dream superpower would be to wiggle my nose like Samantha from Bewitched and have all things magically get done, and then I could teleport anywhere. Because if I had that superpower, I promise you my house would always be clean and orderly, and I would teleport myself to the beach quite often. But I do not have that superpower because I am a mere mortal. So I have to step back and look at what is actually in my control, and to break it down into reasonable steps, and then put those steps in order. And in order to do that, we've got to make an assessment of what needs to be done before I can move forward here. One of the projects I've been working on is building out our storage room for all the copious amounts of stuff that we've had in storage over the summer since we moved. I had done all I could do on my own on that project. And I reached a point where my husband had to do the next step because it's his stuff that needed to be dealt with before I could proceed and move forward with the rest of it. And realizing that is not in my control. He's working on it. He's doing the best he can with it. But when and how that actually gets done is not in my control. And it's not going to do me any good to pummel my husband over it. So what I needed to do is to step back, look at something different. What else is in my control? What can I do now that is in my control? What I realized is that before my own office can get settled, the cabinets that were sitting on a dolly in my entryway needed to be assembled and installed. Now that is something I can do on my own. Go me. Yes, girls can do that stuff too. Yes, I did put those together, and yes, I did install them. They're not quite finished yet, but that's another story. But what it does do is that opens up the next step of being able to put all the stuff that needs to go in those cabinets away, and then I can find a place for all of that stuff and let it all be settled. The cool thing is the whole thing turned out way different than I had planned, but I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. That really brings me to, I think, one of the biggest things that's most important about getting out of overwhelm, and that is finishing something. Be it big, be it small, just finish it. I don't care if you just need to finish the dishes. Do it. Get them done. Get them finished. Let it be done. Truth be told, those cabinets behind me made me want to spit nails and say a lot of swear words, which I didn't do, but I did get them done. And even though there's still a little bit left to do on them, and they will be finished this weekend, it's already starting to feel a lot more put together, a lot more settled, and I can see the rest of the steps from here, and I can see it actually getting done, which also renewed my excitement to get it done. So sometimes the problem isn't actually the problem. It's the stories we tell ourselves about those problems. You can actually learn more about that in this video right up here. Hop on over and check that one out. Do you have some favorite ways to get out of overwhelm? If so, share them in the comments. Let's talk about them. Let's learn together. I would love to connect with you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you liked what you heard today, and grab that free workbook that is linked down in the description. I'll talk to you later. Bye!